Welcome, everyone, to this mantra breathing session. And we're so happy to have you all with us on this very important topic, overcoming the unconscious death urge. And Sandra wanted to talk about that, and some of you expressed your desire for us to talk about that subject. So here we are. And so once we talk about this quote unquote unconscious death urge, it won't be unconscious anymore, but you'll have to deal with it, right? So I hope you're all ready to deal with this topic that most people just ignore. They don't look at it in their life, and it sneaks up on them, and then before it's too late, they haven't even looked at it. So we want to look at this subject today, and I think it'll be helpful for all of us.
Yeah, your death urge can get activated by many things, but especially if somebody dies that you're close to, or even if a pet dies, that activates your death urge. Or if you go through a divorce or something horrible happens to you, like a shocking thing, those things trigger your death urge. But especially when your family members die, it's very strong that your death urge comes up. So you do need to know what that is. So I'm going to read 10 points or 9 or 10 points about what is the unconscious death urge. First of all, it includes the following. Number one, the thought death is inevitable. Everybody thinks that that's real. That everybody says, oh, I know death is inevitable. Everyone's dying out there. But they don't get that that's a thought that could be changed.
And they don't get that everyone's dying out there because they have a thought that death is inevitable.
Yeah. See,
the thought came before the result, right?
Everybody said, oh, I call it the waiting to die syndrome that people get in their, in their 70s, the waiting to die syndrome. Okay, so another thought that causes the unconscious death urge is the thought I'm separate from God. And most of us had that thought when we took a body. So we think because we had a body, we're separate. And then that makes us feel guilty. Number 3, your personal lie, which is your worst thought about yourself. You have to be really clear what that is. And if you're new and you don't know, you need to find out. But your personal lie could be like, I'm wrong, I'm bad, I'm guilty, I can't make it, I'm weak. And
so these first 3 that Sandra's mentioned, if you could just focus on those and clear those are the main ones. First, the thought that death's inevitable. 2, your imagined separation from your source, even though you can't be. You wouldn't be alive if you were separated from your source. But people have in their minds separated from their source. And then 3 is your personal lie, which is your most negative thought consciousness factor that you have about yourself. So those 3 things those are the main components of the unconscious death urge. And if you can deal with those, man, you've made huge strides.
Problem is they're kind of addictions. The death urge is an addiction, and you have to deal with the addicted aspect. Number 4, all your anti-life thoughts, all your negative thoughts that are not supporting life are part of your death urge. Past life memories of dying, and that might come up, especially for me. I reached the age this year and last year, in other lifetimes, I never made it past this age, ever. And so that, when I got to this age that I am now, it triggered all my past life memories when I died.
Yeah, so if you died in your 80s and then you hit your 80s, it's like all your unconscious death urge is going to come up because that's all those memories of when you passed away. Yes. Or if it's you died in your 60s, or whatever. So we tend to go into our death urge even more in that age when we died before.
Yeah. Okay, number 6 would be family traditions. What did your grandparents die of? What condition and what age? What about, grandparents on each side? You need to look at that. Otherwise, you might unconsciously copy family traditions on death. Okay. Number 7, all your guilt. Guilt demands punishment. And the ultimate punishment for guilt is usually death. So people never work out their guilt, and then they punish themselves by dying. Number 8, a secret wish to die if you hate your life. A lot of people don't want to be here, and some people actually have that personal lie, I don't want to be here. So that is constantly triggering their death urge. That's a really difficult personal lie. Then, of course, number 9, this is the biggie, the belief in sin. The Course in Miracles says the belief in sin is a request for death. So if you had a thought, I'm a sinner anywhere in the last few lifetimes, maybe you weren't a Catholic in this life, but you have to go back 5 lifetimes to cure your family traditions religious traditions, I mean. So you might have been told you were a sinner in the last life if you weren't in this life. So,
yeah, and some religions say you're born a sinner, you're originally a sinner, and we question that. And we also like to see that there's a difference between sin and error. Like an error or a mistake is just something you can correct, but you're innocent for making mistakes. There's no guilt associated with making a mistake. It's just something that you see, oh, I made a mistake, I correct the mistake, and I get myself back on track. And there's no guilt in that. But with the concept of sin, it usually comes with guilt. I made a mistake and I'm guilty for making a mistake. And then I'm not going to get over the guilt, even if I correct the error, right? So guilt and sin go together. So we have to free ourselves from the notion of sin and from this emotion of guilt that we carry around with us. We're innocent for making mistakes. And we have this great affirmation, even though I made a mistake, I still completely love and accept myself. So whenever you make a mistake and you're tempted to feel guilty about it, just say that affirmation. Even though I made a mistake, I still completely love and accept myself. And then just correct the mistake and move on.
Okay, so what are the results of the death urge? The first one is obviously fear, okay? The death urge puts you in a lot of fear that you might die, and that as if it has more power over you than you have over it. So it seems like death just comes to you somehow. No, it comes to you because you have a thought death is inevitable, but most people think death just comes to them from somewhere out there, and then they have a lot of fear, okay? And it also causes a lot of illness. So the death urge causes your fear and causes your illness and causes your pain and causes your tension. And of course, it leads to aging. It also blocks your creativity when your death urge is up and, you don't have a lot of energy. Your energy may drop. If you feel tired all the time, that's your death urge. Like Epstein-Barr syndrome, for example, or chronic fatigue syndrome, that is just the death urge.
And usually a thought, I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
That's a strong thought. Yeah. People that have that condition, it's I don't want to be here. They're not accepting the life force.
Yeah, and so the death urge makes people angry. They feel they can't control it, so they're angry about it. The cause of the reaction they have makes them fatigued, makes you depression. If you're depressed, that's always the death urge talking. All depression is the death urge. Makes you feel helpless, causes failure. You could lose money and lose your business. Anything out there that's not thriving in your life is part of your death urge. Like even your plants, if they're not healthy, your animals aren't healthy.
Yeah, this might be a good place to read that thing from the Course in Miracles.
Yeah, you can do that.
So, the Course in Miracles is actually a course in immortality. A lot of people don't realize that. They see those lessons, oh, I'm not a body and blah, blah, blah. And they don't really get the point that, yes, we are spirit, but that spirit is immortal. And when that spirit is used in the physical dimension, it removes this notion of entropy, that things have to wear out, So we're trying to overcome this notion, this concept of entropy at the physical level. And how do you do that? Well, you're certain of your immortality. And yes, the Course says spirit is immortal, But when you're so certain of that, you can use that certainty in the physical dimension to extend your life. And we would say death is a function of consciousness.
Choice.
It's not just something that happens to you. It's something you decide. Now, most people decide it unconsciously, so it seems like it's just happening to them, but they haven't cleared their personal lie. They haven't cleared their anger at God. They haven't cleared their sense of separation from the life force. And they haven't cleared their guilt, fear, and anger. So all those things added up will amount to the unconscious death urge, and they'll kill you. They'll make your body sick.
And the Course in Miracles is very clear on this. It says no one can die unless he chooses death. What seems to be the fear of death is actually its attraction. And so it says death is a result of a thought called the ego.
Yeah, and there are some very subtle ways we wouldn't think they're part of the death urge, but I just want to read this one paragraph from this lesson 163. Lesson 163 says, "There is no death. The Son of God is free." And then the Christ goes on to say, "Death is a thought that takes on many forms, often unrecognized. It may appear as sadness, fear, anxiety, or doubt, faithlessness and lack of trust, concern for bodies, envy, and all forms in which the wish to be as you are not may come to tempt you. All such thoughts are but reflections of the worshiping of death as savior and giver of release." Yeah, so if people hate their life or they're miserable, they might see death as kind of a way out. They might see it as a release, and that's part of the death urge. Well, why did you make your life to be miserable? That's really more of the question.
Yeah, people don't realize anxiety and doubt is part of the death urge.
Yeah, anxiety, doubt, anger is part of the death urge. Fear is part of the death urge. Guilt is definitely part of the death urge.
Yeah.
So you might want to do a little inventory in your mind. Where are the areas where I'm holding the most guilt? Or where are the areas I'm holding the most anger? And start forgiving those things in yourself and others.
Some people say, well, I don't have a death urge. I want to live. But unless your parents were both immortal yogis, you have been programmed to die. So that everybody has this death urge, even if they say they want to live. So the thing is to be sure that when anybody dies, or a pet dies, or a friend, or a family member, your death urge gets what we call activated. Okay, and it can cause many different things. First of all, my father died when I was 17. My menstrual periods totally stopped for over a year, and that was my death urge. And then I got insomnia and all kinds of conditions. Okay, then I got over that. Then my sister died at the same age as my father because she was a conformist. Helps to be a rebel. So after that, I got acute hypothermia. I was freezing for months and months, and that was my death urge. And I got through that. Then my mother died. Now, that's always a tough one. Those of you that lost a mother, it's very genetic, So after that, I had depression, and I had anorexia, and I had to even stop working. My death urge got so activated. So I feel like a lot of my life, I was processing family members dying and how that affected me. So just be concerned. You definitely need more breath work when your death urge is up. But here's the tricky thing. The death urge keeps out the love that would heal it. So when your death urge is up, you need love to be healed, but you will run away from the love because the death urge pushes away the very love that would heal it. So then people avoid the very thing they need, which is private sessions and whatever. So there's always remember that the death urge keeps out the love that would heal it. So you have to kind of force yourself to get sessions when your death urge is activated.
Yeah, and years ago, Sandra wrote this book, How to Be Chic, Fabulous, and Live Forever. Well, she wrote that book in like her 40s, late 30s, early 40s, right? And so then we kind of revamped that book when Sandra was in her 70s and 80s, and it's called Physical Immortality, How to Overcome Death. You can get this on Amazon. And all the things we're talking about today are mostly in this book. And it's a good manual for at least understanding this unconscious death urge, because we have to bring that to the light. You know, there are certain steps. If you don't realize you're killing yourself with your own thoughts, you have to first come to account with that. You know, you have to see that first. You have to see that you're in charge. There's no external force out there that's working on you. No, you're in charge of everything that happens to you. You're in charge of your thoughts, your consciousness, your things that you give attention to, your feelings. You're responsible for how you feel. And if you're walking around feeling angry and guilty and fearful all the time, that's gonna do a great toll on your physical system and cause disease and sickness and illness and old age. You know, aging is another form of the death urge. It's like kind of this belief that things wear out, you know, and accumulations of non-forgiveness. A lot of people, we see that in our work, that there are people they hold from their past that they just have not forgiven. Could be a family member, even a parent. And the accumulation of all that non-forgiveness is part of the unconscious death urge. And it will actually kill you. It'll give you pain and suffering.
Yeah, I think you already all know, as Marcus said, any condition in your body is part of your death urge. I mean, obviously, if you have a disease and a diagnosis, it's pretty obvious that's your death urge. But even if you have just tension or pain or any kind of symptom, that is the death urge. So any symptom in your body that is causing you a problem is part of your death urge. So that's one of the reasons we say focusing on the life urge is the way to get through it, obviously. And that's why it helps to read the books on immortality. Now, when we started breathwork, we read nothing but books on physical immortality for a whole year, those of us that were new rebirthers. It was a brilliant thing to do because it really strengthened our life urge. So the way you strengthen your life urge is you do things that make you feel good, obviously, and you read the books on the subject. They will kind of get you into a new dimension.
Yeah, and there's a very good bibliography in the back of this book with these books listed. So if you get this book, there's a lot of references.
I'm not sure,
I think
in Liberation Breathing.
Okay, I'm sorry. Well, there are a few listed in the back, but the main place where we list those books is in our Liberation Breathing book. But yeah, you got to immerse yourself in the philosophy of it, in the practice of it,
psychology,
and the psychology of it.
We'll talk about that next week. But today we want to breathe out the death urge. So when you're breathing, inhale life, exhale death, and inhale the mantra. And the meaning of this mantra, which is very powerful, is let not disease and death come to me. That's the meaning of the mantra that we're going to be playing today.
So overcoming this unconscious death urge, in this book we list purification techniques specifically applied to overcoming the death urge. And the main one that we use is breath work. So you're all here engaged in this breath work, and that's one of the main ways that we overcome the unconscious death urge. Using affirmations or thoughts, changing our thoughts to different thoughts, new thoughts.
We'll cover those next week.
The mantra we find is helping us overcome the death urge. Some of you have heard about Ho'oponopono. We practice that. We read the Course in Miracles. We do the lessons. That's another way. Fasting. Now, I found this is really good for me. I love to fast, and I, have part of my month. I go a few days without eating too much, and that really helps me clear out stuff, not just weight, but I feel like I'm mentally more clear when I'm fasting sometimes.
And one of the big ways to heal your death urge is to do what we call a moondan, shave your head. We do that in India along the Ganges River, and we always do it after a family member dies. And Marcus and I have shaved our heads several times. So that is a really powerful way to clear your death urge, is actually get your head shaved. Believe it or not, it works.
But for us, I think the main way we're clearing ourselves is through the breath work, because that's like a full system, right? It's not just the breathing, but it's looking at your thoughts, being conscious of your thoughts, being mindful of what's happening inside you, always going for a higher thought, always going for a better feeling. You wanna ascend up what Esther Hicks would call this scale of feeling. You want to get to joy, you want to get to appreciation, you want to get to this level where you're feeling good all the time, and that feeling good is overcoming the death urge. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugadim Pushtim Vardhanam Uvarukmiva Bandhanan Mrityor Mukchya Mamritat. I'm going to play this for you today for a whole hour. So we're going to breathe for an hour so you can get ready, get set up. I'm going to be here watching you. Sandra usually breathes, and I do the watching. And I also say some mantras silently while we're listening to this other mantra.
सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वरुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्ष्यमामृतः ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वरुकमिव बन्धनान् सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वरुकमिव बन्धनान् त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम्.
We'll breathe in silence for the last 10 minutes. So you can also turn over on your side if you feel like doing that to shift the energy, or you can stay breathing on your back. You can also breathe through your nose if you want to, more gentle breathing. This is a time to integrate. You guys did really great. You stuck with it the whole time. That's a very powerful mantra. Sometimes it can make you a little antsy. Yeah. Just know that it's just cleansing. It's just bringing up anything that you need to let go of. You don't even have to know what you're letting go of with that mantra. But it is helping you let go of deep stuff. Just breathe into appreciation, gratitude, joy to be alive, joy to have a breath. Unlimited amounts of air for me to breathe. Sandra and I are going to try a challenge this week. We're going to say this mantra, Om Triambakam, every day and do 108 times, one round on your mala, Om Triambakam. If anybody wants to join us, they can. And think about what is it in your body you would like to apply that to, okay? So for me, it's like lately in the last couple of years, I've been a little bit overweight. So I'm going to apply that to my weight, that one issue in my body, and see if saying that mantra 1 week, what difference does that make? So if you want to try that mantra, Om Triambakam, I'll put it in the WhatsApp, the Mantra Breathing WhatsApp group, so that you can have it. And you need to say it for this challenge 108 times a day for 7 days. So I said my first round today, and you could start tomorrow if you wanted to, and just see what happens by saying that mantra. It's a powerful one, and I'm suspecting that it's going to really help me drop a few pounds this week. Yeah, so you can apply it to any condition in your body you want to apply it to. Well, hey everybody, it was great being with you. It was great breathing together. You all stuck with it really well. And I know because I'm watching you the whole time. Some of you were a little antsy, but most of you stuck with it through the whole time. Yeah. So write to us during the week, Sandra@sandraray.com, or in the WhatsApp group, Mantra Breathing Ohana. You can write there. But if you have something personal, it's best to write us an email. Yeah. If you don't want to put it in the public group. Yeah. So God bless you all. Have a good weekend and keep in touch. We'll keep you informed of new stuff. Hope you're all getting the Friday blessing and the Monday holding hands with you. Yeah, we're giving a lot of attention to those. Yeah. All right. God bless you all. Thanks for joining us.